Hi everyone, it's Sorkin. Today we have a problem when we are given an array of integers which represents weights. So for example, in this case, it's a 1 and a 3 for the 0 index and the first index. And we need to implement the function pickIndex, which randomly picks an index from our array and returns it. But the most important part of this question is that the probability of picking an index, we are not just randomly, but the probability of picking the index is the weight divided by the sum of the all weights. So for example, let's take this example, right? We have two values, 1 and 3. So the probability of picking the first index is 0.25 because 1 divided by sum, 1 divided by 1 plus 3, which is 4, so it's 0.25. And the probability of picking index 1, 3, right, is 3 divided by 4, 1 plus 4, which is 0.75. So what's that mean? It means that if we call our pickIndex function, right, this function on average, so if we call it, let's say 4 times, it should, if we call 4 times, once it should return our 0 index because probability of 0.75, and 3 times it should return our first index because the probability of it 75. Okay, let's take one more example and work on it. Let's say that we have 10 here, we have 2, and we have 3. And the indexes are 0 index, first index, and the second index. The first idea comes to mind is just when we are calling this method, we should randomly pick the index and return it. So that would be wrong because if we are doing that, it means that the chances of returning 10 and the 2 and 3 are equal, but they should depend on the weight. So our probability of returning 0 index should be 10 divided by 15 because the sum of the all elements are 15. The probability of returning second element is 2 divided by 15, and the probability of returning third element 3 divided by 15. So what's that mean? It means that if we are calling this function 15 times, 10 times it should return us 0 index, and twice it should return us first index, and 3 times it should return us second index. So on average, right? On average, this should be our breakdown. So how we are going to solve this problem? The way we are going to do that, we are going to use here PrefixSum. So we are going to go over our array and add the elements. So add the previous element to the current element. So for example, the first one would be 10 in the PrefixSum. The second is 12. And the last one is 12 plus 3, it gives us 15. So when we are choosing an element, so we are not choosing between 0 and 2, we are going to choose between 0 and, we are going to choose in our case between 0 and 15. So we are going to choose between 0 and 15 because in this case, let's say that we are choosing 7, right? We are choosing 7. If we are choosing 7, it means that we are going to return 0 index. What about, let's say we are choosing 9? Again, we are returning 0 index. Let's say we are choosing randomly 13, right? In this case, we are going to return first index. And how about, let's say that 13, we are going to, for the 13, we are going to return 15 index, right? 15, so which means that the second index. Let's say 11, right? For the 11, we are going to return first index. So it means that from 0 to 10, we are returning 0 index. From 11 to 12, we are returning first index. And from 13 to 15, we are returning first index. We are second index. First and 0 index. That would be correct because in that case it would depend on the weight, right? It would depend on the weight of our index. So that is the first part. The second part is, let's say that we have much larger array, and let's say that we have how we are going to do the search in that case. So our first step is we are randomly picking from 0 to 15. We are picking our target number, right? And after picking that, we need to find in our PrefixSum array, we need to find we need to find correct index. So for example, let's say that it's 9, so we should return our 0 index, right? If it's 11, we should return our first index, and so on. So in order to do that, we are not going to do the linear search. What we are going to do a binary search in our PrefixSum array. First thing that we do here, we are initializing our PrefixSum array of integer, which is the size of our weight array of integer, and we are setting for the first value, we are setting the value of the weight 0, and for the rest of that we are populating our PrefixSum. And when we are calling our pick index method, so what we do first, we are choosing a random number between our 0 and our last element of our PrefixSum. Let's say that in our case from 0 and if we consider our previous example, right, from 10, 2 and 3, so between 0 and 15. So we are choosing our target number, and then we are doing our binary search. We are initializing our left pointer, which is 0, our right pointer, which is the last index of our PrefixSum, and we are doing a binary search. So we are selecting a mid element. If our value in the PrefixSum mid, if it's less than our target, so we are searching on the right side of the array for our value. If it's less than, then we are searching on the left side, so we are moving our right pointer, and at the end we are just returning an index. So what's the time and space complexity? Time complexity, we should calculate the time complexity of these both of these cases. For our constructor, the time complexity would be of n, because we are going over our array only once, and for the pick index, the time complexity, because of the binary search, it's a log of n, and the space complexity again is determined by the PrefixSum, which is of n. Okay, hope you like my content. If you like it, please hit the like button and subscribe my channel. See you next time. Bye.